This week we're reviewing The Order 1886, PlayStation 4 exclusive from Ready at Dawn Studios. Here it goes. Alright, so we typically do graphics, gameplay, sound, and then overall on here on GameSlean, so we'll do that for this one.
All right, graphics. They were looking good. They were looking like finally looking like a next gen game.
Definitely. So if you've seen it, you might have seen some footage beforehand, or you can see the footage here that we're running, but you know, this game is more or less a graphical showcase on the PlayStation 4. And you might notice the letterboxing, like some games have it, like Evil Within is a recent one that had it, and some other ones I remember too, like what the hell is that other one? I can never remember it.
Did Alien Isolation have it?
No, I don't think Alien didn't have it. It's friggin' Beyond Good and Evil is another one that I recall has it. So I've seen some debate actually on the friggin' boards about this, where the letterboxing, I mean, Ready at Dawn maintains that they did it because it's an artistic type thing, and it's a it's a cinematic game, and that's what they were going for.
Right? Yeah, it gives you rather than have a game be like 4:3 aspect ratio, it gives you a cinematic feel. It makes total sense.
Exactly, but I've seen other people saying no, they couldn't get it running full 1080p, so they took some of the load off the render engine and letterboxed it so that they could get all their effects and get it running, 30 frames and with all the effects turned on. So
30 whole frames.
I don't know.
It's the console.
That to me doesn't matter. The graphics were solid. There's not a ton I can say about the graphics. I mean, what you see here is what it is. One thing I do want to note is that there is one mechanic in the game where you can pick items up and like inspect them. So one of the items is, as you go through, you'll pick up these newspapers, and they have like these full-blown newspaper articles, and it friggin' sucks. Like, they're next to impossible to friggin' read. I don't know why the hell they did that. It's stupid as shit. There'll usually be like one block of text in the middle that you're supposed to read, and then like the other columns and stuff around it will be like they're like blurred out, so there's no way you can read them. But I don't know why they didn't like subtitle it or have some
allow you to zoom in or something.
Yeah, zoom, like have some kind of freaking option to get in on it, or maybe I don't know.
What my question is, what are you doing trying to read the Milford Daily News inside this game? You should just go out and grab a newspaper if you want to read it.
Well, it's stuff that pertains to things that are happening in the game world, and in some cases, like when you go to a different chapter, it'll talk about stuff like like when you do have this assault on the friggin' London hospital, it'll have a newspaper article about like, what the friggin' press tried to spin about it and what actually happened. And so you read it and you're like, okay, yeah, I was there, I did that, but it's saying like, not all the facts are straight. So it's stuff like that. Overall, though, the graphics are solid. The character models are all detailed. The environments look great. There's nothing to really complain about on graphics. Let's move on to sound. The friggin' voice acting, spot on. And I noticed at first the friggin' weapon sounds, like they felt a little bit thin, but then as I played through it, I didn't really notice it anymore. So I don't know if it was because I was using different weapons, but I think I saw that complaint elsewhere. But that was one of the things I noticed, like right off the bat. I was like, geez, these when I got a rifle or I got a pistol, it does sound a little bit thin. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe I just started ignoring it. I don't know. But that was one thing I noticed on sound. The music.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that could be it's very important in games now as well. So I'm surprised they didn't. If they were really trying to nail the cinematic feel for the game, I'm surprised they didn't nail that quite as hard.
Yeah, and it's really just the weapon sounds. Again, the voice acting is pretty much spot on. But that was one of the things I noticed. And the other thing I thought was also kind of weak was the music.
Right.
Like, there weren't any really, like, we've had some games we reviewed here on the show where we said, yeah, it's just kind of there. There's nothing really stand out. It's kind of bland. But this one in particular it like stood out because, yeah, you can see here he's inspecting this thing. I think he gets to a newspaper at some point, so I'll point that out when we get to it. But yeah, the music though, like there were times where I'd be in the middle of a friggin' gunfight and like the music was just doing nothing. Like it wasn't intense. It was just kind of just like really like weak and just like light. I don't know. It was difficult to describe. So I don't know why. I don't know what happened there on the music. That was kind of a disappointment.
They gotta get my boy Harry Gregson Wilson in there.
Yeah, they should. And I think Jason Graves did the music for this, and he's done stuff like Dead Space and Tomb Raider, and so like.
Oh wow.
So I mean,
dropped the ball.
He's good at like the horror and the suspense type stuff. But forever this one, I don't know if he phoned it in. I don't know what happened, man. Like it's just that was kind of a weak spot for the game. So now let's move on. Let's move on to gameplay. Of course, the heart of the game here. So obviously we've got standard third-person mechanics. The cover system is actually really good. The weapons are all solid. There's rifles, pistols. There's a thermite rifle. This thing, it lets you shoot a cloud of thermite, and then you can ignite it. So like you fire off this cloud where the enemies are, and then they all once you ignite it, they kind of explode, and a bunch of stuff gets lit on fire. There's also one of my favorites is this arc gun that they have. It's an arc rifle, so it fires a bolt of electricity, and you essentially just aim it in an enemy's general direction. And as long as you're pointing it at them, like that's it, they're dead. It's one shot, and they get zapped, and they're friggin' done. So
there's no spread gun.
No, there's no spread unless they have some DLC weapons that I don't know about.
No shotguns at all.
Oh, there's shotguns.
Oh, okay.
There's yeah. In fact, the shotgun enemies. I'll get to the difficulty in a little bit, but the shotgun enemies can take you out really, really quickly if you let them get too close. So it's good to take care of those guys and then steal their weapon, definitely.
Are there any Jedi mind tricks in this game?
No.
Great.
So let me go over the premise real quick. It's the premise of the game in case you don't know. So you play as Galahad. He's one of the Queen's Knights of the Order who are descended from Arthur's original Knights Around Table. And as you can guess, their job is to protect London from a number of threats, which include rebels, half-breeds, Lycans, and friggin' vampires and shit.
Whoa.
So there's some supernatural elements at work here, but the main plot involves the power and corruption in this game's version of the East India Trading Company. So I don't want to spoil too much about that, but that's kind of what they have going on. The game is highly cinematic, but a lot of times. So it's similar to games like The Last of Us and Uncharted. I think that's the overall feel they were going for here. But with that in mind, I felt like a lot of times just when something cool was going to happen, the game would take the control away, or they would have something really cool happen in a cutscene, and I'd be like, oh man, that sucks. Like it would have been cool to let us play that. So. Is that
a negative though? I mean, like they did that with Metal Gear Solid 4, and that's one of my favorite games. And that game is all cutscenes.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that extreme. It'd be like I'd be in the middle of a gun battle or something, or there'd be a chase scene or something, and then I'd be like, all right, cool, something's gonna happen, and then it would just be boom, cutscene, right in the middle of something cool, and I'd be like, oh man, why did the game take control away right then? That sucks.
Yeah. There
were no 15 or 20-minute cutscenes in this one.
Oh my! Yeah, remember the end of Metal Gear? The end cutscene is 3 hours long.
Right. Yeah.
Oh
no, there's none of that. I knew you were gonna say that. There's none of that here.
Yeah, I think the first time I played that game, it took me 28 hours or something watching all the cutscenes, and then I beat it again in under 5, skipping them.
Oh man.
I'm still playing it. I've got 10,000 hours worth of cutscenes so far.
Also one of my favorite games of all time, though. So
yeah,
I want to mention the QTEs in the game because I've seen some complaints about that. The QTEs honestly aren't a big deal. The majority of them are insta-fail. So there's one here where there's stuff like this where you have to operate stuff and it's just button mashing. But there's some where you're dealing with enemies and there's stealth sections. So some of them will be insta-kill, but then there's ones where it's a boss battle. So you get it, you can screw it up and you get a couple chances, but honestly, those didn't bother me. The QTs were okay. I know a lot of people want to complain and say, oh, they're overused, they're stupid, do something else, do something new, but that didn't bother me too much. Now, I want to comment on the length here because this was one of the things I saw the game getting beat up on. Overall, I'd say I probably didn't take more than 10 hours to complete it, but I played it on hard. And I don't think it unlocks any additional difficulties, and that's what I'm going to suggest. If you play this game, definitely play it on hard, because even on hard on this game wasn't even any more difficult than most games on normal. So I don't know if they weren't looking to challenge people or what they were doing, but honestly, hard in this game, you should play it on hard unless you really just want to breeze through it and you don't want any challenge at all. So that would be my recommendation, and then at least the enemies take a little bit more damage. It takes a little bit longer to get through, so you won't be burning through it in 4 or 5 hours like some of these guys. So having said all that, overall, I want to say the story in this game is pretty good. Some of the stuff they leave it unclear, but I think they did that to leave it open for a sequel on this one. With that in mind, though, I wish they had done something different with the ending in this game. It's all right. But they definitely ripped off, speaking of Metal Gear, they ripped off a certain Metal Gear Solid game. And even saying that's probably too much because you can probably guess which one it is. And I don't know if they thought everybody just forgot about that or if they just wouldn't care, but what they did with the ending has been done before, and I sort of wish they had done something different. But I want to give the game points for having an original setting, an original look, so it's got that kind of, you know, Victorian era and steampunk look to it. I would have liked to see some stuff like weapon upgrades or some gimmicky shit with the DualShock 4 like some other games have been doing, because we've got the speaker, the light bar, and the touchpad on there. The game doesn't use any of that stuff for some reason, so I don't know. This game reminds me a lot of Heavenly Sword, actually, because that was another one that came out. That was a launch title on the PlayStation 3. It had really good graphics, and it had some flaws, and a lot of people bashed on that game, but that's what this game reminds me of here, to be honest. That's more or less it. I'm ready to put up a score here, so let's take a look. For the
Score
order
is...
Right, I'm going to say the order is a must-play. You know, to be honest, I think this game is getting completely under-reviewed. We've got idiots, like I mentioned before, idiots are docking points because of the game length being shorter, and, you know, and other stupid stuff. I'll mention one site in particular whose name starts with Ko and ends with Taku, who said just point blank, just don't play it at all, which to me is insane because it's a solid game. I don't understand where they got that. It's not as bad as they tried to make it out. You know, if you're into this type of game, third-person shooter action adventures, then this is definitely up your alley. Heavily focused on story, that type of thing. You definitely want to check this one out. For now, though, I'm putting the must play on it and not the buy. For now, it's a rent or a borrow. Don't go out and buy it yet. Wait till it goes on sale or borrow it from a friend, because there's no multiplayer and you're probably not going to get a whole lot much more out of it after one or two times through it. But definitely play it on hard, like I suggested.
Say for the sake of argument that this game would take me 7 hours to beat or 8 hours to beat or whatever. If the game is well done and it's well presented and the story's good and the mechanics and everything about the game are solid, I mean, that's worth my money right there. I mean, games 20 years ago were $60, $70. Super Nintendo games were $70 or $80 for some of them. And like, you know what I mean? Like some of those games you could beat in an hour or two. So, I mean, people just boo-hooing about a game not being 100 hours long with like no COD type matchmaking and online. Like, I mean, games were different. Yeah, it's not a reason to hate on a game. I mean, people like or sites like IGN dock points off video games for having too much water. So I mean, that'll tell you a lot about what these. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, it'll tell you a lot of what these sites look for. So I mean, maybe this company didn't pay those sites enough money to favorably review their game. Maybe that's the case, or you know, I'm not sure, but. If the game's good, the game's good. It doesn't matter how long it is.
Yeah, we brought up that point on a couple games last season. I'm convinced that that's how it's working at this point. But in any case, there you go. That's the Order 1886. Definitely check it out if you've got a PlayStation 4.